My story starts in 2002 in June, and that was a high year for me and a high month. I just finished the Manitoba Marathon, and so I was at sort of the peak of my performance. And then about 10 days later, I found a lump, and I found it myself. Initially, you think, no, this can't be happening, and this isn't really it, and I'm not really feeling it, so you feel it again, and it's still there, and it's still there. I got my mammogram results on my birthday when I turned 44. That's my birthday present, saying that it was something suspicious. And so from there, you have to have further testing. For the best case scenario is that they're hoping that it's going to be a cyst. So when the doctor was doing the ultrasound, and he said it wasn't a cyst, and that was the first time that I guess it really hit home that this might really be a diagnosis of breast cancer. We're going on a holiday anyways, and we decided to go right then and there. So we packed up the kids, and they were young, and we had an amazing holiday, which was really hard to believe, but we did. And then we had to come back for the diagnosis. So we left our kids, my son was 17, and we flew back to Winnipeg for one day. And that was July the 24th, 2002. And that whole day was surreal.
I had anger. My dad died when I was 18, and so I'd seen cancer, and I didn't want Karen to go through it. I thought in my lifetime, I'd be immune, so I think I had anger initially. Anger for the kids, because I knew how it was to see somebody sick.
So I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. It was a 1.8 centimeter tumor. After that day, we flew back to my kids in the trailer in Edmonton.
Flying back was tough. It was even harder going back to tell them, because they're young children, and you think, how do you tell them the right way? How do you give them that information? And but try to be still optimistic, try to make sure that they're okay and they have strength.
My dad said, your mom has cancer, and it was, it's hard to describe how I felt, but it's almost as if you're lifted up almost above yourself, looking down, not really knowing where you are, what just happened, like as if you were taken away from the moment for a second.
I remember I had to leave for a bit. I drove around and I thought about it. I remember getting ice cream and bringing it back to the family and thinking maybe that would help relieve some of the tension.
I think it just felt better to do something. It felt better to become informed. That was a big thing that we did lots of reading, trying to then be able to educate the children, tell them that it was going to be okay, that there is hope, that there can be a chance that it can be better, and you have to go with that, and you also have to start believing what you read, that some people survive.
I guess you're always scared, but you have to go on. I didn't cry as much as I thought I would, and it was interesting, because you think you have an idea of how you're going to react to something as devastating as that.
She's worried about dying, and you have to say it's going to be okay, and you hope it will be okay, and you just try to stay optimistic and just keep on going and keep the kids happy and try to keep them happy. But I think it is just one of those things there that you listen and you try to, who could walk in that person's shoes? You can't ever walk in somebody else, but you try to be empathetic, sympathetic, but also not let her dwell in the negative.
The next part of the treatment plan was going to be the chemo and radiation. My first one was on a Monday, and then that Sunday was the Run for the Cure. And 6 days later, after my chemo, I ran the 5K in the Run for the Cure, and it did. It felt good to do something. My hair fell out after the first chemo treatment, so about, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks after the first chemo treatment, and that's a different experience too.
I just remember, like, when my mom was in the chemos. And she was sick after. It was almost like she was sort of like away on vacation, because like she would just be in her room and we went to see her, and it was hard to see your mom so sick in bed and not be able to do anything about it.
It got harder from an emotional point of view because the farther you get into it, the more you really realize that this really is real. And it's not one chemo session, it's 2 and 3 and 4. You do start to feel sicker, you do start to feel weaker, you do start to feel more depressed and sadder.
And I remember every single night I'd crawl into my mom's bed every night and just lie there and just cry with her. And it was almost one of my favorite memories though, because we got to spend time together. And when I was sad and she held me though, I just knew everything was going to be okay, even though it wasn't, but I just knew it was going to be okay.
Then I was going for regular mammograms at that time. And on the mammogram, the pre-op mammogram, they found something suspicious on the other side. I couldn't go for the rest of my life having mammograms every year and worrying about, what if it's back, because that puts you in a place that is terrifying. So I made the decision then. I was going to have a bilateral mastectomy and I was going to have both breasts taken off. The reconstructive surgery that I had is a procedure that they do in Winnipeg that was so state-of-the-art that even 2 years before that I wouldn't have been having the same surgery. And what they do is they take your stomach tissue and they take the fat and they take the skin and then they transplant it onto your chest, and they do microsurgery so that they're using your own tissue to make 2 new breasts. That to me started to feel like closure on my journey.
Thinking back about this, how it's been 8 years for her now, I find that very tough that she was that strong to have gone through something like this, and she's always pulled through and has been very, very positive, and I'm just very happy that she's here, and I love spending time with her in the morning. We eat breakfast together. And
To this day, thinking back, my dad probably would be alive with the improvements they've had, and that's only through people donating and having the money available. And behind every doctor and nurse and caring social worker, etc., that we met, there's a huge amount of research going on by people that aren't even seen in the public, and it's only through their research that the other people can help us all out and look at the positive results we've had with the treatment.